How you doing,
Doug,
buddy?
how you doing?
Man, it's great to have you on the show. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, and I'm glad to be on your show. Thank you very much.
No, it's our pleasure. I was just giving them, the viewers, a little bit of background on your and I's relationship. Thanks for taking the time tonight to call in and be a part of the Coach Scott Field Show. Are you out in California right now? Where are you calling us from, buddy?
I'm calling you from Santa Rosa, California. Probably about an hour drive from north of San Francisco.
Okay, Santa Rosa, California. A little shout out for you. Doug Devore, a former player of mine, big number 35, double D. It's neat, Doug, because I was actually sharing with our producer before the show started tonight. I said, I'm going to be honest. Doug Devore was a poor man's Larry Bird. He was so cerebral, so smart, and you actually came over with one of my first head coaching jobs over in Europe. We were in the country of Luxembourg. You were actually playing professionally over in New Zealand, correct me if I'm wrong, and you came over and played
correct.
for Stabridimus Ecluse, and we took over a team, I as the coach. That team the year before we got there had only won 4 games or 6 games the year before we took over. And I was sitting there, I was watching the players, I was watching the strengths, watching watching the weaknesses of the local talent, and there was already an American player there. And I was watching him, and I just knew that with what I wanted to do, with my philosophy, that Doug Devore was the perfect fit for that team, for what their skill set was, and for us to be competitive, knowing that they had only won like 6 games the year before.
Right.
I gave you a call. You came over and played, and I don't know if it still stands, but after your first year with us, I was the coach, you were the foreigner. We finished with a franchise best ever season. And we went to the finals of the Cup for the first time in the club's history. And it was your skill set and your strengths and your personality and your infectious play that helped bring that team of players, because they were young players, that helped us have that success. And let's talk a little bit about that experience. You and I started work together with a minor league team in Dothan, Alabama. We were the Dothan Blast. You and I became roommates, as I was the assistant coach at the time. Tell the viewers a little bit about that experience. What did you think of me? We got put together as roommates in this Holiday Inn in Dothan, Alabama. Let's talk a little bit about that relationship as assistant coach, and then I ended up taking over as the head coach, and then you came over and played for me in Europe. Tell the viewers about that.
Well, let's first of all talk about Luxembourg.
Okay.
When I first got there, I could not believe how young and actually kind of, I wasn't used to the talent level there. And what was amazing, what you did, and I think you called smoke and mirrors, you got them playing at a level that they've probably never played before. It was pretty amazing. And when I first met you in Dothan, I was like, who's this young?
Oh, did we lose him? I think we lost our connection there. Well, we're going to get him right back. Let's get him back on the phone. Maybe he's in an area where the call may have just dropped.
Sorry about that.
No, there you go. Go ahead, buddy.
So it was pretty amazing knowing that when I first met you in Dothan, Alabama, how crazy you were. But what was great was how energetic you were. And how you were able to get those guys to play smoke and mirror, same thing as you did in Luxembourg. It was pretty amazing.
Well, I appreciate it. Again, I was only 28 years old. Just took my first professional head coaching job. I had a philosophy. I had a system. I knew what we needed to do with the team because there was nowhere to go but up. They had struggled.
Right.
They were very, very young. I think we had a 6'9" player named Luke. We had a 6'6" in Cyril. We had 6'5" Philippe, who was actually from France. We had Claude and Guy Schmidt. I think Guy might have only been 17 at the time. I think Claude was only maybe 18 or 19. We had a real athletic 6'4", 6'5" player in Eric Grand. But we didn't have a lot of bench. We had Pitt Coofer, who came in off the bench. It's amazing as we sit here, the names are just coming right back to me of those players. They didn't have a lot of success. I changed the American. You came in fresh out of New Zealand. So when you looked at that team, and you already kind of said, you know, the level wasn't as high as what you were used to playing in New Zealand. You know, you basically came from being a rock star and a legend in New Zealand. But they kind of looked at you, and I don't think they knew what to expect.
No, because they saw a 6'8" white guy who didn't look like he can play, and it was fun to get on the court. And I do remember with our center Luke that you did bounce the ball off his head a couple times to teach him how to catch a ball.
Yeah.
So,
well, I figured if we hit him in the nose, when his eyes quit watering, sooner or later he's going to have his hands there and he's going to catch the ball.
Right, but that was good. You took a bunch of guys, and you know, like I said, they didn't know me, and you had just fired the American. I do believe that American took a whole bunch of basketballs and hid them the first night out. The first night out in town.
He took them out and threw them in the country, so we didn't have any basketballs. He was so upset that he got fired. They were all in this big old PE kind of mesh bag. There were like 12 basketballs. Finally, we got him to tell us where he took them out in some pasture out in the middle of tiny Luxembourg. We found the basketball so we could finally have a practice. You're right.
Now, come to think that was my second night in the country, or first night in the country, and here I am looking for basketballs in the country of Luxembourg. You know, so who knows what we're going to find there?
Hey, think about it. We were driving around in a little black Ford Escort, and that was actually one of my first experiences driving a stick. So that was pretty fun, too. But think about some of the things that we did. I really think we did a good job together working as a team, because I think we took the time and we was teaching. We were teaching special situations. I can remember taking the time to talk about, you know, how if the basketball is going out of bounds under the goal that we're defending, how we would save the ball and throw it to the other end. And I believe after we practiced that, Double D, I think we made that play. We called bingo, because that was our vocal that, you know, when we had the ball saved, if someone heard bingo, they would take off flying. You saved it from underneath the basket, threw it down, hit Eric in stride. He stops on a fast break and drains a three right after we taught him.
Yeah, that was crazy, because the one thing you did, you came in there and did some special stuff that these guys have never seen before. All these special situations. I mean, they're used to running drills, and that's the great thing about playing in Europe is you do fundamentals more than you've ever done it in America. You shoot the ball more than you've ever done in practice. I mean, that's by far, I've never shot the ball so much in practice than I did over there. But you put some special drills in, and on that night when you put that one drill in, or the one play in, I did save it out of bounds, but Eric got the ball. He went down, and that was against Steinzel, I believe it was.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yep. Big rival, big win. You know, so it was a great win, a great coaching job, of course. So it worked out well.
Thank you, buddy. Hey, I can also remember, you know, you and I, we ended up sharing an apartment there in that little bitty town. It was sponsored by actually a bunch of vineyards. They were wine cellars, and that's how they actually financed the team, was from the fall harvest. So we had to hope that, you know, that the grounds were fruitful and the grapes were good, and they would have a great harvest, so that way they would sell their wine and Federweisen, if I said the word right, so that way they could finance the team for the year. And in August, they would have that big sale of wine right off the Mosel, that large river that ran through the country. And I can also remember spending time with you, Doug. In that vineyard country, we would drive south, and there was this large mountain that probably had 300 steps. And you and I individually would take the time between practices, and you and I ran those steps together. And the physical condition that you got yourself in was amazing, because we had to call upon you to play the full 40 minutes. We played 2 20-minute halves over there, and your physical condition against the bigger, faster, stronger athletes, with your cerebral mind, you were dropping triple doubles nightly. And we would do what I called the Coach Fields hustle point system as an evaluation to see what their strengths were, what their weaknesses were. And I believe you won every evaluation, for the strengths and the positive points that you brought to the team. But yet that evaluation, share with the viewers kind of what my hustle point system was, and how the players, it was like an accountability piece, so the players could learn, and we'd always have communication. But what was that to you?
Well, you pretty much sat and watched video after every single game when we had video, and pretty much calculated, the assists, steals, rebounds, points, everything like that. And you did a phenomenal job. I mean, it wasn't done after the game was over. You spent hours in front of the damn TV, just checking out film. You put the time in, and then you pretty much laid it out for the teammates, and you pretty much held them accountable. When you came to practice, hey, you didn't do nothing. You didn't do anything. Hey, you did well. I mean, it was good for guys to get back, because that was pretty much almost pre-internet back in those days.
Right.
I mean, internet just happened.
Yeah.
We had computers, but nothing like we have today, obviously.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of technology.
The fact that you put the time in and to make players better by letting them know, hey, by the way, this is what you scored last week, and you need to pick it up.
Well,
and plus, for me, living with a coach, I had to pick it up.
but you did a great job, and it's amazing to me, because I think you're one of those players, Doug, that I can honestly say, after watching so many players internationally, that you truly were a poor man's Larry Bird. We got Larry Bird's jersey hanging right here behind me. But it's amazing to me that someone as skilled as you, who played, I think you played at Marin College. Is that where you played your junior college ball? And then you went to Sam Houston State?
College of Marin.
College of Marin, yeah. So you graduate from Sam Houston State, or on track to graduate at Sam Houston State. You start playing professionally, and you were dropping consistent triple doubles every night. Whether it was 24 points, 13 rebounds, 12 assists. I mean, that's even before triple doubles were popular. And you consistently did that, and it was amazing, because I really think that when players and other teams who didn't do their homework and didn't scout us, and they just saw us warming up before the game, because teams, they didn't take the time to scout the other teams or go watch the other players, but they would see us come on the court, and like you said, a 6'8" white guy come in a little bit pigeon-toed, and they're looking at this saying, okay, we got this, because they've got no players. We were young.
Right.
The average age of the local players was probably about 23, 24 years old that year.
Oh, probably younger, I think.
It's amazing. But to think what you did with that team, Doug, with your work ethic, how you led by example, you were the guy, the pro, that was out there not only leading in points, leading in rebounding, leading in assists, but you were the first one to be, as I would always say, get your big face on it. You're the one diving on the loose ball, and you're the one diving into the stands, and you're the one leading the spirit and the morale in the huddles. Talk about, because to me, I was like the Phil Jackson. You were the Michael Jordan in a much smaller scale, but I was able to sit back because you led by example, and that's why we had the success and had the best ever record for that club in the club's history. Tell us what it was like from a player's perspective.
You grew up in Indiana, obviously. That's basketball. There's a ball on the ground, you dive on it.
Yeah.
There's a ball going to the crowd, you dive on it. That's what you do, and that's how I was brought up. Ever since having a coach in Sam Houston throwing the ball out and, hey, go dive on it. That's what you do.
Right.
And I knew I had to lead by example. These kids were looking up to me, and I've dealt with that before in New Zealand. kids are looking up to me. So, hey, if there's loose ball, I'm getting after it because I cannot get after it. That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's basketball.
You know, you were experienced and a veteran enough to know that if you didn't do it, how could you expect them to do it if you're just yelling at them saying, hey, you got to be aggressive? Well, if you weren't willing to sacrifice your body and put yourself through the pain, they sure weren't going to do it as a young professional athlete in that country that was, you know, they're considered professional, but let's be honest, in that country it was more recreational.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it was good. I mean, the crowd saw that. The old people who still played in the league saw that. The young kids who we had to coach, the 8-year-old, 9-year-olds kids who saw that, they saw that. So me diving on the floor, getting a loose ball was helpful for old people and young people. Sounds kind of crazy, but that's what happened.
Well, I mean, talk about that, Doug, because you were so good at that. And I don't think they realized what a jewel they had in you, because you did. You not only did you play and, you know, compete and get triple doubles, but you were also spending time with player development, which is now the term for it, but that's what you were doing because you were working with what they called the minis and the cadets and the scholars. You know, that was the whole club program, and you worked with all those young kids, and you got to coach them during their games before we even played our game. So there were hours of time that you had to spend away from our team to work with that club team and their program and their younger players. How did that help you as a player to see it from a coach's perspective as you were still a player?
Absolutely. Learning how to communicate with kids who barely speak English or don't speak English. Basketball is universal, but teaching kids how to dribble, you know, it was an amazing experience. You know, those kids, the way they have it set up in Europe and Luxembourg especially, you know, we use that for example, how they have these kids practicing a couple times, 3 or 4 times a week, all year. That's phenomenal. And then they move on. That's something we don't really have here because kids play basketball, and then they go on to baseball, and then they go on to football. Depends what season. And that's why, you know, like I said, American, you know, we have better athletes here, but there's better fundamentals in Europe.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. The work ethic is amazing. Doug, talk about, because you played many years, and I don't want to, you know, mislead or misinform the viewers, but how many years did you play professionally in New Zealand? And I can't help but think that all those years that you spent in New Zealand, that you helped develop that country, and New Zealand later on in the latter part of your career actually qualified and competed at the World Championships. What was that like to watch a country's growth compete on a world level like that with players that you knew from real young playing with and against? How did that make you feel as a player to see that country's growth, to compete on a world stage?
Yeah, because I believe that was the 2002 World Championships. That was in Indiana.
That's right.
It was kind of fun, and you got a chance to come down and see that.
Yeah.
And it was good to see you back then. But you know, I played New Zealand from 1990 to 2000. 10 years. 10 years their summer is 10 years our winters for our summer. So I pretty much didn't see a summer here at all back in the States. But you know, it was good because, you know, their basketball league was up and coming. It wasn't that big. It got better, and now it's gotten pretty big. They have a team in the Australian League right now.
Yeah, the Breakers.
Which is pretty phenomenal. And they've won last 3 or 4 championships in a row. I'm not sure the actual record, but it was cool to see them in the you know, doing well in the World Championships. It was fun.
Well, let's talk about this. Let's show the viewers how small the basketball fraternity is. You got to play with a player who is now coaching in the NCAA and had a fantastic season and has a fantastic career. Share who our friend is and who you are very close with and the success that they've had. Please educate our viewers.
Yeah, that's Tony Bennett, who's a coach of University of Virginia. Me and him played together in New Zealand for 2 years, 2 seasons, and then I left to go play for a different team, and then he came on as head coach for North Harbor, in Auckland, New Zealand, and we actually played against each other.
Yeah.
So he was there for a couple of years, and then he went off to coach with his dad at Washington State.
Yep.
And then he got the head coaching job there, and then
he by the way,
to Virginia.
Yeah, he was coach of the year at Washington State. Took a program that his father Dick left to him, and became coach of the year. And then he leaves Washington State and goes into the ACC, which is some of the best basketball in the nation, playing against the Dukes, the North Carolinas, the Wake Forest, the Florida States. And how happy are we for Coach Bennett to, win the ACC tournament, make a great run into the NCAA tournament this year. It couldn't happen to a better person.
Well, but he was on my bracket. He was the I picked Virginia to win it all. No, it's great. It's great for Tony. What an amazing job! And kind of a quick story about Tony. When he was at Washington State, he called me about a player down here in this area. And me being offensive minded, not much defense. I watched the player. I called Tony back and said, "Hey, this guy can play. He's good." Well, Tony flew down and spent like the first 30 seconds watching the player. He said he plays no defense. So because of that, obviously he didn't take him.
Yeah.
So
great story.
And it kind of opened my mind to obviously both sides of the court, because Tony, Virginia was #1 in the country with defense this year, I believe.
Yeah. All of Coach Bennett's teams, even his father, gosh, what great defensive teams they are in the team defense, and the way they get up at you and to put pressure on the ball and get up underneath you and force you to go a certain direction, and the way that they're all on a string, and the way they rotate, the way that they talk, the way they come out and close out on shots, and the way, things that I see, the way that they come out and force you off of a pick and roll and have the guy rotate in behind. That, to a basketball purist, isn't that fun to watch?
Well, you know what? I actually, the last game that they actually lost, I had my wife, Margaret, pause the game and go back, because there was a sequence where the pass was gone, they rotated, the secondary rotated. It was so amazing to watch that, because they don't extend their defense, they don't deny the ball, but basically their philosophy is, hey, you're not going to get inside the key.
Yeah.
And if you do, we're not going to let you get in there. And like you said, the way they rotate, the way they switch or double, whatever, it's phenomenal to watch. And if you're a young coach and you want to learn about defense, watch that team.
Oh, Coach Bennett does an outstanding job. It brings me to something. Do you remember what we used to call on our defensive hustle system if we gave up that paint, what we called it? We called that the danger zone.
Yes.
So
why don't you share with the viewers the Marchetti story?
Doug, it's amazing. There's so many stories. Let's take it one even further. A couple weeks ago, we had a guest on the show who resides in California, and he's a mental training coach. And, he talks about positive affirmation and training and focus and visualization. And it brings me to a story. Do you remember in Luxembourg, we had a practice, and I pulled it out.
You had us lay on the ground.
Okay, tell us the story, because I think if I tell it, they're not going to believe it. You're the player. I was coaching. What did we do as a team to work on visualization? Because, again, I had to get that team to believe, but I knew that they had to see it, visualize it before they could believe it, before they could achieve it. So tell them the exercise that we did.
You have to understand that I knew you, but I didn't know you that well. And so I thought you were a little bit crazy, and I didn't know this team very well. And you had us lay on the ground, and I believe it was R. Kelly.
Yeah.
I Believe I Can Fly.
Yes.
And as that song was going, you were preaching, Luke, you're going to score 15 points and get 10 rebounds. And as you're going through each player, I'm busting up laughing. But in reality, it worked. The next game, it worked.
It was amazing, because when you're overseas, coaches, if you have a philosophy and a style and a system, you can incorporate that philosophy and try to get the players to play a certain system. But I knew that for us to go to the next level, because we had knocked off 2 or 3 good teams, competitive teams,
right.
and for us to get to the next level, I knew that we had to go the next step. And I didn't prepare you for this. I didn't tell you I was going to do it. We did. We turned the lights off in the practice facility. We played R. Kelly's I Believe I Can Fly. The lights were out. I had you lay on your backs, close your eyes, and as you said, I went to each individual person. And I told Eric, I said, Eric, I said, you got to see yourself guarding number 13. You got to see yourself stopping him. You cannot allow him to get penetration. You got to box him out, rebound strong, and start our break.
Right.
Luke, you got to be the rebounder. And I went through each person and told them what their role had to be. And we talked about it, and then we went out and practiced, and then it did work. And the players believed in it. They bought into the system. We laugh about it now 10 years later, smoke and mirrors, but it was effective and it was needed for that team for what we had to do to be successful.
Right, and I think that was 15 years later, by the way.
Oh my God, this hasn't been that long.
or maybe more, but yeah, that was it was interesting because I've never seen that before. I've heard of cybernetics or doing that whole process, but that was the first time I dealt with it, and I was a skeptic. Of course, I was laughing. I was okay. I'm going to shut up because you're the coach. I got to keep quiet. But the whole thing worked out well. Worked out fantastic.
Hey, isn't it amazing? Okay, 15 years ago in Europe, we're over there doing these things that now they have these terms and titles and labels for that we were doing them before they were ever named cybernetics or quantitative analytics. Because all we were doing was hustle point systems, kept it simple, and taught a philosophy, and it was so successful.
And it's kind of funny these days now. When I take my 7-year-old Joshua, we'll go down to the park, and I'll be telling him to run, hustle, loose ball, those type of things. And he's like, I'm only 7, but I said, I don't care, keep going.
Oh, isn't that great? Doug, I can't tell you, how great it is to have a former player who played so many years in FIBA basketball, around the globe that, you and I have maintained our friendship, our connection. I still call you to bounce ideas off of. It could be something personal. It could be something professional. And, I really appreciate you for that. You've always kept me grounded and helped me make, help me process my decisions as I take on the next steps, with my career. And I just want you to know that, every coach has those former players that, we respect, that we look up to, and we value their opinions. And you're definitely that muse for me that, whenever I need to bounce off, something serious, that I've always been able to pick up the phone with you no matter where you're at or whether we Skyped, but we've always stayed in contact no matter where on this globe that I might have been coaching, whether it was Lebanon or China, Venezuela. I just really appreciate that from you. Tell the viewers now what you're doing for a career.
Well, thank God I married a great woman named Margaret in New Zealand, and she got me grounded. And after I was done playing in 2000, we came back over to the States, and I'm now a deputy sheriff working inside of a jail in Sonoma County.
Nice.
And it's kind of weird. I go from guarding forwards to guarding felons. So,
hey, and I bet you do it well.
I do it well. I know how to communicate. I know how to play silly songs to them to assume that they're going to behave.
Oh, that's great. Well, matter of fact, wasn't there just an article recently that you were in about your position right now?
Yeah, the front page of our paper in our county, in Sonoma County, Press Democrat. I was in there, standing there, talking to a person. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. Now all the inmates know my first name.
There you go.
That's okay. I'm okay with that.
Well, let me ask you this: have you ever, given thought or had aspirations of maybe taking your wealth of knowledge and expertise And obviously your son's getting that coaching and mentorship, from you. Have you ever thought about, being like a player development coach or being on a staff, at the college level or high school level? Have you entertained that thought recently?
Absolutely. But right now it's really all about my young son,
Sure.
Joshua. It's all about my wife. Because my wife Margaret put up with me traveling all those years where she had to follow me.
Yeah.
And she came with me, and she put up with a lot. Now she's over here. We're all over here in America, and her family's still in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So I mean, coaching looks great, but most importantly, it's all about getting my son Joshua to the next level. To the first level first of all.
He's 7.
Yeah, so we're getting the whole baseball thing out of the way, getting the whole soccer thing out of the way, so he gets bored with that, and then one day I'll tell him, hey, you're playing basketball, and that's it.
Oh, wow, that's great. Well, I can't thank you enough, for being a part of the show.
No worries.
Your friendship, has been, I'm grateful to have you in my life. Share with the viewers. I mean, you had many coaches, at many different levels, high school, college, professionally, around the globe. What did you take from me the most as your coach? Because, I mean, here you are. I was actually younger than you, so here I am coaching a player who's older than me, back in the day. What did you take from me as a coach, either as a person on the floor, off the floor, or just, what did I teach you about the game or maybe I refreshed or reiterated to you?
That's easy. I mean, I knew the game already. I had some great coaches growing up, but you taught enthusiasm. You got people to do things they wouldn't normally do. I remember playing, you throwing a basketball inside of our apartment, and I'm diving after it on the bed or on the couch. Crazy stuff. But it's all straight. It's all really enthusiasm, and your ability to, put people in the position to be, successful. And that now is your mantra right there. You found people, hey, you go here because this is you're best suited at. And that's what you got going for yourself, and that's what I think is phenomenal.
Well, Doug, I appreciate your kind words, and it means a lot to me. Gosh, thanks so much for being a part of the show. For players that are out there that have aspirations that want to play internationally, what's the best advice that you could share with players who have those aspirations and want to have a career overseas? How can they have the longevity that a Doug Devore had for many, many seasons? Because think about it. You were just like Kobe Bryant's and the Dwayne Wade's. You played year-round because the Europeans was during the winter months, and then you turned around, went right to New Zealand, never took a day off because that was now their season. So you played 12 months of the year for so many years. What do you attribute that to? How did you do that? How did you have longevity?
I was lucky because I had a great support staff with my wife, with my mom if I had to come back and stay at her house whenever. But you know what? You should always be playing, because if you're not playing, or if you're resting, someone else is playing.
Yeah.
So it's important to keep working out, keep doing the fundamentals, and keep playing. And don't be satisfied with beating somebody that it's easy for you to beat. You go to the playground, hey, I can beat these guys.
Yeah.
Go find some place where you're getting beat. Find some competition. That's probably the best thing I can say.
Man, Doug, that's a great nugget, my man. Well, let me ask you this. What are a couple lessons that you learned throughout your career that you're able to apply that's applicable to your career now after basketball, working, in the field that you're presently in? What are a couple valuable skill sets that you now use daily that you learned on the basketball court?
Probably communication. That's probably the most important thing. Working with teammates who didn't speak much English or didn't speak, playing in Spain, they didn't speak any English. Learning how to communicate effectively. Right now I'm currently a crisis negotiator for our department, so I have to be able to talk teammates out of situations that they shouldn't be in. So clearly, basketball helped me with that, and that's pretty much the biggest thing I would say.
Wow, that's great stuff, buddy. Did you have any other nuggets that you would like to share with the viewers before we sign off here? Just, anything else that words of wisdom? Because again, you take a gentleman like yourself who, could have played at much higher levels, but for some reason slipped through the cracks or didn't get the right eyes on him. You were never resentful of that. You always took the jobs with enthusiasm, even though the pay scale was not what your market value should have been. Do you have advice for players with that? Because to me, you're a testament of what the game is really truly about. You played for the love of the game. Yeah, you were able to make a little bit of money, but it was never at the level where I believe you could have played and should have played. Because to me, you should have been at those higher levels.
Right, and you know what? It all comes down to, if you want to play, keep playing. Take the job that's offered to you. I turned down some jobs in Brazil thinking that, I'm going to go out for some bigger money, and I regretted that. Go out and travel. Go out and take the job that's offered to you if you get a chance, and go do it. Going to New Zealand, didn't pay much. Same thing in Luxembourg. But the fact that I kept playing for 12 years was because of the fact that I kept playing. And take the job, go play, and because that's what it's all about, playing basketball.
Yeah. Of course, you told me for years about how beautiful the country is, the lifestyle. Matter of fact, I was kind of in the running for a couple positions out in New Zealand a couple times, and would have loved to have been there. But what was it about New Zealand? I mean, of course, you met your lovely and supportive wife there, but what else was it about New Zealand that was so appealing to you as a professional player, and with that league that was growing?
Probably the lifestyle. I mean, it was fun. All these kids were all learning too. They were all, it was great for me to be able to get my coaching going on, and that's what I did there. And plus, playing was great. And like I said, people were getting interested into it. I mean, you're fighting against rugby. You're fighting against other sports that are on TV.
Yeah.
But it was absolutely just a blast to be in there, because you go there and you really, it's an environment where you don't really want to leave.
Yeah.
And that's what I got into. And if I had to do it over again, I wouldn't change a thing.
Wow. Well, let's talk about one of the major differences off the court. Of course, they speak English, which is good, but in the cars, you're driving on the opposite lane. The steering wheel in the automobile is on the opposite side of where the passenger is here in America. So what was that like, learning to drive over there in that country where the steering wheel's on the opposite side and the lane that you drive in is on the opposite side? What kind of adjustment, and how long did that take you to adjust to that?
Well, I got in one accident the first year.
Okay.
I got in a head-on collision my first year there, so that was kind of brutal. Survived that. We had 4 guys in the car. One big Samoan that I think he stopped everything from moving. But you really, that's one of the things. You really got to learn your environment. And I didn't drive for the first month I was there, but then I started driving slowly. Luckily I was in a small town. There's so many different things you need to get used to with the currency, different money things, and then the driving, and then the people, and you just got to just take everything slow.
Yeah.
And you know what? And doing that, it prepares you for life. Because since I've done all that, there's nothing I can't do now because I went through that. Everything's a lot easier doing what I did now.
There you go. Those world experiences are something phenomenal. And I know you went through multiple passports with all the travel that you've done, and you have a wealth of knowledge, and I really appreciate you, sharing that wisdom and experience and expertise with our viewers, because we're blessed right now, Doug, that, this show right now, has great local and national support, but also our international viewership. So this is going to be heard around the globe, and I appreciate you, given the content that you shared with us tonight, sharing your experiences, and what a great resource you are for these young players that are aspiring to do what you do. If there's any players out there or anybody that has questions for Doug Devore, he and I talked about this earlier, you can contact me and I will put you in contact with Doug, so you can pick his brain, and he's going to share that infinite wisdom with you. And Doug, I really appreciate you, buddy, and thanks so much for being a part of the Coach Scott Field Show.
Scott, I appreciate it, and good luck with everything.
Man, Nothing but love to you, buddy. Please,
All right.
please tell the family I send my best, and we need to get you out here in Salt Lake City where you can get out here and hit some golf balls with us sometime soon.
I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, my man. Thanks a lot.
Take care. Bye.
Well, Bob, there's some more experiences right there.
Yep.
I mean, again, think about it. You go to a foreign country to play basketball, and you're driving on the opposite side of the road. The steering wheel is on the passenger side where it is here in the States. So a gear shift, the manual, is going to be done with your left hand. So everything would be completely backwards. What an adjustment that would be.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
the things like that you don't think about, but then you're thrust in that environment and culture, and you've got to learn it to transport yourself to get around, to get your practice.
Either that or take the bus.
That's right. I think I would have been trying to get some bus tokens.
Hey, I'm learning an awful lot about you, Coach.
What a great night once again we've had here, with Brave Haven Studios. And again, I want to thank you, Bob, for allowing us the format to continue to empower and educate, these viewers. I want to thank Chuckarama. I want to thank Brave Haven Studios. Definitely want to thank Pi 5 for the product placement here tonight. Again, for those who need to get in contact with Nick, he gave us a phone number where you could reach him in regards to his services that he provides now. Again, gentlemen, if you want to have your wives look great, go to Salon Dante, and you can reach Kim Fields at 801-572-8812. Go get your hair done right and get it looking good, because when you come home, your man probably won't be able to keep his hands off of you. You'll be looking so good. So anyway, want to sign off here tonight. The NCAA Final Four is coming up. We're going to have a few posts that are going to come up. What a great NCAA Final Four it's been this year. There's been so many close games, overtime games. The Final Four is going on this next week. The finals will actually be next Monday, typically when we air the show. So be looking for those shots as well, and post of when the next Coach Scott Field show is going to be brought to you. We've got some quality guests that are going to be coming onto the show here in the near future, and really excited about having them come on. We're talking to some front office people in the NBA. I'm talking to some agents who actually promote and market players who are done with their college careers, trying to play internationally. Still got some college coaches. We got some broadcasters. We got some motivational speakers who want to come on. We got some strength and conditioning coaches who are going to come be a part of the Coach Scott Field Show to continue to empower you and educate you and provide you with resources to take your game to the next level. And I want to send a sincere, heartfelt thank you to all of you for tuning in tonight. Again, for you companies out there looking to promote and market and use us as a vehicle to, enhance your business, please contact Brave Haven Studios. Let them put together a video product for you that you're going to be so proud of, or that maybe 30-second or 1-minute commercial where we can play it right here live on the Coach Scott Field Show in an advertisement spot for you, to help you guys also grow and develop your brand right here with us. So want to send my best to all of you. Be watching for tweets. Be looking for those posts. And we look forward to having you again right here on the Coach Scott Field Show. So until the next time we see you, God bless, grow, and become a better person. Provide that service. Be the best person that you can be. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.